The CEO's unseen daughter. The call that changed everything attention. This is the moment a billionaire's controlled life shatters. Before witnessing the shock of a lifetime, do this. Hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support fuels the stories of powerful emotional reckoning. 1. The breakdown of control. Alex Hayes had spent years believing he had complete control over his life. Every decision was calculated, every move intentional. Nothing happened without his sign-off. But everything changed the moment a little girl with startlingly familiar blue eyes looked at him and asked, "Will you take me home?" At first, it was just a strange request from a child he'd never met. But as he stared into those uncannily familiar eyes, his own eyes, a chilling realization gripped him. She wasn't just a lost child, she was his daughter, and he never knew she existed. At 36, Alex had convinced himself he wasn't built for attachment. Once, years ago, he tried love, but it ended in disillusionment. After that, he'd plunged into his work, perfecting his image as the ruthless businessman, a man too focused on success to be distracted by emotions. He told himself he didn't need anyone, that his world was complete as it was. But all that changed in a single, unscripted moment. The evening had started like any other. He had just finished a business dinner at one of Boston's most exclusive restaurants, closing a deal that would add millions to his firm's portfolio. Stepping out into the cool night air, he barely noticed the city lights reflecting off his black Mercedes. He was reaching for his car keys when he heard a small voice behind him. "Excuse me, mister." Alex turned, expecting to see a valet or an employee. Instead, he found himself looking down at a girl. She couldn't have been more than 7, her delicate features framed by thick, dark brown curls. But it was her eyes that froze him, bright blue, unnervingly familiar. His pulse quickened as he looked at her. There was something unsettling about the way she looked at him, as if she knew him somehow. The girl hesitated, swaying slightly before speaking again. "Can you take me home?" Alex blinked, momentarily unsure he'd heard correctly. A child, alone at night, asking a stranger for a ride. It made no sense. He immediately scanned the area, expecting to see a frantic parent rushing towards them. But the street was silent. "Where are your parents?" he asked, his voice sounding harsher than he intended. The girl dropped her head slightly, twisting her fingers in the hem of her coat. "My mommy's not home," she said quietly, "and I don't know my daddy." A cold knot settled in Alex's stomach. He cleared his throat, trying to keep his voice steady. "Who brought you here?" She looked up at him again, her bright blue eyes filled with something he couldn't quite identify. "My babysitter, but she left. I didn't know what to do, so I waited." "What's your name?" "Lily," she replied. He looked at her again, taking in every detail. Her dark brown hair, the slight curve of her nose, the delicate structure of her face, and those eyes. He forced himself to stop thinking it. Coincidence. That was all it was. "Where do you live?" he asked. She gave him an address, and recognition flashed in his mind. It wasn't a high society neighborhood, but it was safe. Still, it didn't explain why a child had been left alone downtown. Alex sighed. He could leave. It wasn't his problem. But something about the way Lily looked at him, with a quiet confidence, with an expectation, made it impossible to ignore her. He sighed. "All right, I'll take you home." Lily's face lit up with relief, as if she had never doubted he would say yes. That unsettled him even further. Interaction point. If you were Alex, a CEO focused on control, would you have allowed yourself to be drawn in by a strange child's request, or called the police immediately? Cast your vote in the comments. Police or paternal instinct? 2. The unexpected revelation. The drive was silent at first. Lily sat composed, as if riding in a stranger's expensive car was the most natural thing in the world. Alex tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "You know you shouldn't talk to strangers," he said finally, keeping his eyes on the road. Lily turned her head slightly, watching him with those piercing blue eyes. "I know. So why did you ask me to take you?" She tilted her head, as if the answer was obvious. "Because you don't really feel like a stranger." "I'm pretty sure we've never met," Alex said. Lily shrugged. "You just don't remember." A strange chill ran down his spine. When they finally pulled up to a small, modest brownstone house in the Beacon Hill area, Alex turned off the engine. "This is your house." Lily nodded, but for the first time she seemed hesitant. "My mommy doesn't like visitors," she whispered. "Do you think she'll be mad I asked you for a ride?" asked. "Maybe," he whispered back. "Do you want me to walk you to the door?" he asked carefully. Lily hesitated. Then she nodded. Before Lily could knock, the door opened. A woman stood there, and Alex's breath hitched. "Chloe?" For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them was thick with unsaid words, with memories that had been buried for years. Chloe's eyes widened, fluctuating between Alex and Lily. Her face paled as understanding washed over her. "Alex," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Lily looked between them, confusion written on her small face. "Mommy?" Alex's entire world tilted. Because in that instant, with Chloe standing before him, and Lily looking up expectantly, he finally understood why the child was so familiar. She wasn't just any child. She was his. "Chloe," he gasped. The revelation hit him with physical force. His Chloe, the woman who left without explanation. And now, standing before him, was the proof of what she had taken with her. A daughter. Chloe's face was ashen. "Alex, can I explain?" "Explain." The word came out harsher than he intended. He walked closer, dropping his voice. "Can you explain how I have a daughter I never knew existed? You took my child and never told me." She hesitated. Then she backed away, gesturing for him to come inside. He followed. Chloe turned to him, hugging herself. "I never meant for you to find out this way." "Then when?" His voice was controlled, but anger simmered beneath the surface. "When were you going to tell me, Chloe, at her wedding? Or were you just never going to tell me?" "I didn't know I was pregnant when I left, Alex." That stopped him. He stared at her, processing her words. "What?" "I found out weeks later, and by then it felt too late. You had made it clear your work was your priority, that family wasn't something you wanted. I told myself I was doing the right thing, that if I told you, you'd feel obligated, and I didn't want that. I convinced myself she'd be better off without you." "Did you not have the right to make that choice for me?" he said, a tightness in his chest. "I know." She trembled. Silence filled the space. The weight of 4 lost years pressed down on Alex's shoulders. He had a daughter, a little girl who had gone to sleep every night not knowing he existed. He turned, looking at Lily, who was watching him intently. She had no idea how much had just changed. "I want to know her," Alex said finally, his voice firm but quiet. "I want to be in her life." Chloe hesitated. Then, slowly she nodded. "All right, final CTA. This is just the beginning." Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to follow Alex's epic journey from CEO to daddy. 3. Earning the title. The following weeks were a blur. Alex reshaped his life. His days, once filled with high-stakes negotiations and business trips, were now structured around visits with Lily. Nothing mattered more than this. The initial visits were tentative. Lily was polite but reserved, treating him like a guest. She was wary, watching him closely, trying to figure out what kind of person he really was. He sat on the grass, built blocks, and let her win at every game. He was trying to earn her trust. One afternoon, as they sat at the kitchen table coloring, Lily spoke without looking up from her paper. Are you going to go away? Alex's heart squeezed. Why do you think I would go away? She shrugged. People leave. I'm not going anywhere, Lily. Finally, she looked up, her bright blue eyes scrutinizing his face. Do you promise? It was such a simple question, but Alex knew it meant everything. He nodded. I promise. That evening, Chloe walked him to the door. She likes you, she said finally. I like her too, Alex admitted. Chloe hesitated before speaking again. I was afraid to let you in. I still am. He turned to look at her. I understand that. But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Weeks turned into months. The tentative visits became routine. Lily now greeted him at the door with an excited smile. She asked him questions. What was his favorite color? Did he like ice cream? She was piecing him together, trying to understand who he was and if he was someone she could trust. One afternoon, Chloe asked him to pick Lily up from preschool. It was a simple request, but to Alex, it meant everything. It meant she trusted him, allowing him to take on a normal, real part of their life. Each year, he arrived at the small school, feeling more out of place than ever. The doors burst open, and a flood of children streamed out. The second Lily saw him, her entire face lit up, and she ran toward him at full speed. "Daddy!" she shouted. The word stopped him cold. She had never called him that before. His heart hammered as she reached him, throwing her arms around his waist without hesitation. He hugged her back, stunned, overwhelmed, but more certain than ever that this was exactly where he was supposed to be. I made you a picture, Lily said, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper. It was a drawing of the two of them, holding hands, and for the first time, beneath his stick figure, she had written one word: Daddy. That evening, Chloe watched him from the doorway. She called you Daddy today, didn't she? She asked quietly. Alex nodded, still feeling the weight of it. She did. Chloe looked him in the eye. Her expression settled into a quiet certainty. You really aren't going to leave, are you? No, he said, his voice firm. I'm not. Chloe studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Good. 4. The rebuilding of us months later. Alex sat on the living room sofa with Lily curled up against him, asleep. His suit jacket was off, and the smell of crayons and home cooking was his new normal. He had traded his carefully controlled world for a messy one of love. And he wouldn't change it. Chloe walked in and smiled softly at the sight of Lily asleep against him. She's getting comfortable with you. She is, he said, his voice low. Chloe sat beside him. You were right, you know, she said softly. About me making the choice for you. About not telling you about Lily. I wish I had known sooner, he admitted. But I'm here now. That's what matters. Chloe looked him in the eyes. You are, she said, almost to herself. You really are. The silence that settled between them wasn't awkward. It was the kind of silence that came when words were unnecessary, when everything important had already been said. Lily stirred slightly against him, and Alex instinctively placed a gentle hand on her back, steadying her. Chloe watched the movement. She loves you, Chloe whispered. I love her too. Chloe gently placed a blanket over Lily's small body. Alex didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know how long it would take Chloe to fully trust him again, or what the future held for the three of them. But as he sat there, his daughter asleep against him, and Chloe at his side, he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going anywhere. This wasn't just a temporary moment in his life. This was home. The quiet, comfortable silence in the living room was a world away from the tense awkwardness of their initial meetings. Alex was now a fixture in the Beacon Hill brownstone. He wasn't just visiting Lily. He was living a dual life. Ruthless CEO by day, present father on nights and weekends. But while the title, Daddy, felt natural, the relationship between Alex and Chloe remained in a careful, fragile limbo. They had mastered co-parenting, but avoided the past, afraid to crack the foundation they had painstakingly rebuilt. One Friday night, after Lily was asleep, Alex stayed to help Chloe clean up. It had become their quiet ritual. "She's excited about the zoo trip tomorrow," Chloe said, wiping down the counter. "She still thinks you're a magician for knowing the name of the tapir." Alex laughed. "I Googled it in the car. 10 minutes of research for a lifetime of respect." He paused, stacking the clean dishes. "Chloe, we need to talk about us. The us that isn't Lily." Chloe stopped, her back to him. The dishcloth froze in her hand. "Alex, we have a good system now. We're stable for Lily. I don't want to risk that." "I don't want to either," he said honestly. "But we're walking on eggshells. We have 4 years of pain and silence between us. If we're going to build a real future, we can't keep pretending the past didn't happen." Chloe turned slowly, her expression tired but resolute. "What do you want to talk about?" "I want to talk about why you left," Alex said, his voice low. "You said you thought I'd feel obligated, that I valued work over family. And you were right. The old me would have resented the obligation, but you didn't give me the chance to become the man I am now." "Why?" Chloe closed her eyes for a moment. "When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. You were closing the biggest merger of your career. You were untouchable, obsessed. I watched the man I loved disappear into his ambition, and I couldn't risk bringing a child into that cold world. I couldn't risk you looking at Lily and seeing a distraction instead of a daughter. And you thought running away was better than giving me a choice?" "It was self-preservation, Alex," she admitted, her voice cracking. "And a deep, deep regret that I carry every day. But seeing you now, seeing the man who sits on the floor drawing crooked hearts, that's the man I needed, and the man I never thought you could be." Alex walked toward her, placing his hands on her shoulders. "I can't rewrite those 4 years, but I've changed, Chloe. Not for Lily's sake, but because she showed me how empty my success was without her. Without you." He didn't rush the moment. He simply let his truth stand for itself. Chloe looked up at him, searching his eyes. The eyes that once reflected only ambition, but now showed vulnerability. She didn't forgive him with a declaration. She simply leaned into his touch, a quiet, powerful acknowledgement that the walls between them had finally come down. Follow Alex and Chloe's continued journey of rebuilding their life. Smash that subscribe button and comment your thoughts on their emotional breakthrough. 5. The anchor holds. The burgeoning connection between Alex and Chloe was soon tested by the demands of Alex's professional life. His sudden shift in priorities had already caused a stir at his firm. His main rival, Marcus Benson, a man who lived and breathed the old, ruthless Wall Street code, saw an opportunity. Marcus began lobbying the board, subtly spreading the narrative that Alex was losing his edge, distracted by his unexpected domestic situation. He suggested Alex should take a less demanding role to focus on his family crisis, effectively pushing him out of the CEO seat. The situation came to a head when the board called an emergency vote on a major, high-stakes acquisition Alex had been championing. Marcus planned to use the meeting to force a vote of no confidence, positioning himself to take over. That morning, Alex was supposed to be at the office by 7 a.m. to prepare. Instead, he found himself sitting at the small kitchen table, helping Lily glue glitter onto a construction paper tapir puppet. "Daddy, is the green glitter for the tapir or the giraffe?" Lily asked seriously. "Definitely the tapir, sweetheart. The tapir deserves some sparkle." His phone vibrated incessantly. Emails from his assistant, urgent warnings from his lawyer. He ignored them. He was present. Chloe walked in, dressed for work, her face worried. "Alex, you have to go. Your lawyer called. Marcus is playing dirty. You risk losing everything you built." Alex looked at the lopsided, glitter-covered puppet, then into the intense blue eyes of his daughter. He realized that the phrase "losing everything he built" no longer referred to his firm. "I know," he said, turning to Chloe, "but I'm not going to rush to the office and prove Marcus's point that work always comes first. I'm going to show up to the board meeting late, but calm, and with a clear mind." He kissed Lily on the head. "Keep the taper sparkly for me." When Alex finally walked into the executive boardroom 2 hours later, he didn't apologize for his tardiness. He simply took his seat, radiating an unexpected calm that threw Marcus off balance. Marcus launched his attack immediately, citing Alex's absence and lack of focus. "The firm needs a leader who is present, not one distracted by domestic concerns. Alex, your priorities have shifted. We need to vote on whether you are still capable of running this company." Alex listened patiently. When it was his turn to speak, he didn't defend his priorities. He defended his strategy. "Marcus is right," Alex began, his voice cutting through the tension. "My priorities have shifted. They've shifted from working 80 hours a week to working 40 hours a week. Smarter. And as for focus, I'm looking at Marcus's proposal. And I see 3 critical flaws that a leader obsessed with ambition and not clarity would overlook." He proceeded to dismantle Marcus's argument with surgical precision, using the clear, calm focus he had practiced at his own kitchen table. He wasn't driven by anger. He was driven by clarity. He didn't just win the vote for his acquisition. He won the vote for his leadership. By the end of the day, Marcus Benson was out, and Alex remained firmly in control. He didn't win by being ruthless. He won by being anchored. That evening, Alex returned to the brownstone. He found Chloe in the kitchen, a slight smile on her face. "So," she said, "did the tapir sparkle enough for you to win the board meeting?" "The point here," Alex replied, wrapping her in his arms, "is that you reminded me that my greatest strength is knowing what to pay attention to. And it isn't the stock market." He looked at her, truly seeing the woman who had saved him by leaving him. "I missed 4 years of life with you. I'm not going to miss another day. I want us to be a family, Chloe. All of us." Chloe didn't hesitate this time. "We already are." Her kiss was a promise, not of an easy, perfect life, but of a commitment built on respect, honesty, and the shared, profound love for the little girl who had taught a CEO that the real executive office was always at home. 6. The unbreakable legacy. The years following solidified the foundation Alex and Chloe had painstakingly built. Alex became the embodiment of the present father, coaching Lily's soccer team, serving as the tapir expert for her middle school science projects, and always home for dinner. His company, far from collapsing after he stepped down as CEO, thrived under his strategic guidance. He proved that true power lay not in hours worked, but in clarity of focus. By the time Lily turned 13, she was a true Bostonian teenager. Smart, independent, and possessing a deep sense of irony. Her old, quiet confidence in Alex had matured into the deep, sometimes challenging, bond of a father and daughter. The true test of their family's foundation came when Lily entered high school. She was navigating a complex social landscape, and for the first time, the truth about her parents' unique history, the 4 missed years, began to weigh on her. One evening, after a particularly silent dinner, Lily finally spoke. "Why didn't you tell me, Mom? Instead of letting me find out who my own dad was?" Chloe looked at Alex, then at her daughter, her heart aching. "Lily, I was young and scared. I made a mistake, a huge one. I thought I was protecting you from a father who wouldn't want you." "But he does want me," Lily countered, looking to Alex, who was perfectly still. "Yes, she made a mistake," Alex interjected softly, taking Lily's hand. "But I made a bigger one, sweetie. I was the man who was so cold and career-obsessed that your mom didn't believe I could want you. That is my fault." He didn't defend Chloe's choice or criticize it. He accepted the entire blame for the environment he had created. "Your mom taught me the most important lesson of my life by leaving me," Alex continued, his voice earnest. "She taught me that my success was worthless without you two. And because of her bravery, I got a second chance. We don't have to erase the past, Lily. We just have to use it as a reminder of how hard we fought to be here, together." Lily looked at them both, at her mother, who was crying silent tears, and at her father, whose blue eyes showed only steady, unwavering love. Seeing her parents, two strong adults, admit their huge failures together was the most profound form of stability she could receive. The anger softened, replaced by a raw understanding. As Lily navigated the ups and downs of high school, her parents remained her unshakable anchor. Alex fulfilled his promise of presence. He was there for every crisis, whether it was a failed history test or a broken heart. One weekend, an old business rival publicly scoffed at Alex's decision to prioritize family over the CEO title, calling him soft and distracted. Lily found the article in an online financial column and raged to her father. "How dare he say that? You're not soft. You're the best strategist in the world." Alex smiled, hugging her. "He doesn't understand, sweetheart. He's still chasing the wrong things. The opposite of ruthless isn't soft, Lily. The opposite of ruthless is anchored, and I've never been stronger than I am right now." That night, Chloe watched Alex help Lily edit a complicated school essay. The easy intellectual partnership shared between father and daughter, man and wife, was beautiful. Chloe walked up to Alex, her hands resting on his shoulders. "We made it," she whispered. "Survived the fire?" "We did," Alex nodded, kissing her hand. "Because you taught me that the only thing worth controlling isn't the stock market, but the small, precious time we have with the people we love." His life was a testament to the fact that love isn't always found in the grand gestures of a first meeting, but in the quiet, persistent commitment of a second chance, earned and treasured every single day. The man who once believed his life was perfect had finally found true contentment in the messy, wonderful, and profoundly real life he shared with his family. The ultimate legacy of Alex Hayes was not his vast wealth, but the simple, unshakable joy of being present. He traded the highest title for the most meaningful one, Daddy. His story proves that true success is not about ambition without end, but finding the courage to stay and build the foundation you once abandoned. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs a reminder about the true meaning of success, and subscribe for more real-life dramas. Epilogue: The Unwavering Anchor. The years flew by in the warm, stable chaos of the Hayes Beacon Hill brownstone. Lily grew into a remarkable young woman, a confident college student studying engineering, following the quiet brilliance of her once unknown father. The 4 lost years were now merely a footnote in a life defined by the continuous, unwavering presence of her parents, the unbreakable family. The bond between Alex and Chloe deepened with age, turning their repaired relationship into a rare, enduring partnership. They were a team, no longer fighting old ghosts, but looking forward, united by a quiet understanding forged in crisis. Alex, now in his 50s, was a respected figure on Wall Street, known less for his early ruthlessness and more for his strategic wisdom and balanced lifestyle. He continued to serve as chief strategist, often mentoring younger executives, advising them that true success lay outside the boardroom. One spring afternoon, Alex and Chloe found themselves setting up a small party to celebrate Lily's acceptance into her top engineering program. "I still can't believe she's leaving for the West Coast," Chloe murmured, her voice tinged with pride and sadness as she arranged flowers. "Is she ready?" Alex said, smiling. "We gave her the anchor she needed. Now she can sail anywhere." He looked at the small kitchen counter where, years ago, he had placed the lopsided construction paper heart Lily had made him. It was now preserved, framed, and placed prominently on their bookshelf. The circle was complete. Later that evening, Alex's senior colleague, Mr. Chan, who had observed Alex's entire career, approached him with a glass of champagne. "Alex," Mr. Chan said thoughtfully, "I remember when you nearly walked away from the CEO job. Everyone thought you were crazy, that you were going soft. We thought you'd lost your edge." Alex laughed softly. "I didn't lose my edge, Mr. Chan. I found my clarity. I realized that if my career required me to choose between a billion-dollar deal and a 5-year-old asking for a bedtime story, the career was flawed." Mr. Chan looked across the room at Lily, who was animatedly telling her mother a story, her blue eyes sparkling with intelligence and joy. "Your daughter," Mr. Chan nodded. "She is a beautiful legacy. You built empires, but this is your masterpiece." Alex knew he was right. His wealth was fleeting, his power temporary. But the love, the connection, the sheer effort it took to earn the simple word "daddy" from a child who once didn't know his name, that was the true, enduring return on investment. He walked to Chloe, took her hand, and watched his daughter. The unexpected discovery, the perfect surprise. He had completed the journey from a man who valued control above all else to a man who understood that true happiness lay in surrendering to love. He had lost 4 years of his life, but by winning back his daughter and his partner, Alex Hayes had finally learned to live, fully and completely, present in his own home. 8. The unwavering balance. The brownstone in Beacon Hill remained the unshakable core of the Hayes family. Lily was away at college, but her departure left a strange, quiet space in the house, a space that years ago would have been filled with Alex's frantic return to work, but was now filled with the rediscovered companionship of Chloe and Alex. Alex was on a secure video call in his home office one cool evening, closing a major strategic partnership. He handled the multi-million-dollar details with his old sharpness, but now he ended the call abruptly at 6:58 p.m. He used to find satisfaction in being the last one working. Now he found it in being the first one to clock out. He found Chloe in this kitchen, preparing dinner. "Deal closed," Alex announced, kissing the back of her neck. "Good. Did you save the world, or just a few $1,000,000? Chloe smiled, a wise, gentle challenge in her eyes. "Just a few million," he conceded. "The world can wait until after dinner." They sat at the small kitchen table, the silence comfortable and deep. "Lily calls tonight, right?" Chloe asked. 10 o'clock. Wants to update us on her solar panel project." Chloe put down her fork, her gaze serious. "You know, Marcus Benson's old seat is still vacant. They offered you the full CEO role again last week, didn't they? No remote work. Back to the tower. Full time." The question wasn't accusatory. It was simply a statement of fact, a final test of his transformation. Alex looked at the small kitchen. Not the value of the granite countertop, but the memories etched into the wood of the table. Glitter glue, crayon marks, and quiet conversations that saved his soul. "I told them no," Alex stated, his voice firm. "I chose to keep the chief strategist role. It gives me the flexibility to fly to the West Coast when she needs me, and the time to be here when you need me." Chloe walked to him, placing her hands on his chest, right over his heart, which no longer felt cold. "You gave up the top title, the total control." "I gave up a paper title for a real one," Alex corrected, looking into her eyes. "My legacy isn't built in steel and glass. It's built right here, on this foundation." He didn't make a grand, romantic promise about their future, because they were past that. Instead, he simply vowed, "I'm not chasing distance anymore. I'm staying in the balance." Chloe smiled, her eyes shining with quiet pride. She knew the temptation of the tower would always be there, a magnetic pull for the ambitious man he was. But by choosing balance, by choosing the quiet hum of their home and the time for his daughter's call, Alex was not just closing a chapter. He was writing a new definition of success, one built on a commitment that would be tested and proven true every single day. The ultimate legacy of Alex Hayes was not his vast wealth, but the simple, unshakable joy of being present. He traded the highest title for the most meaningful one, Daddy. His story proves that true success is not about ambition without end, but finding the courage to stay and build the foundation you once abandoned. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs a reminder about the true meaning of success, and subscribe for more real-life dramas. 9. The unspoken reparation. Years after Lily had left for college, the tranquility of the Beacon Hill brownstone was occasionally punctuated by quiet moments of deep reflection for Alex and Chloe. They had built a beautiful present, yet the past, specifically the moment Alex had rejected Emma's pregnancy, still lingered like a ghost in the corners of their memory. One cold evening, as they were packing up old paperwork in Alex's former home office, Chloe pulled out a file marked simply, Hayes, 2018. It was from the year she had left. "I found this," Chloe said, her voice soft, holding up a bank statement. "It's a transfer receipt from 4 years ago, a substantial one. Right after I left your office." Alex stopped sorting boxes. He looked at the paper, and the air thickened. It was a transfer of several $100,000, made from his private account to a trust account he had never mentioned. "I don't understand," Chloe whispered. "Who is the beneficiary?" Alex walked over and took the paper. His gaze was heavy, tinged with pain he thought he had finally buried. "It was you, Chloe," he confessed quietly. "Or, rather, a trust I set up in your maiden name. The day you told me you were pregnant, and I reacted so badly. I realized instantly what a catastrophic mistake I had made. But I was paralyzed by my own fear and pride. I couldn't call you back. I couldn't face the vulnerability." He paused, looking her in the eye. "Instead of using words to fix it, I used the only thing I trusted: money. I told myself it was my obligation. I put the money into a blind trust for you, intending to tell you later, but you were gone before I could. I never touched it. It was always yours, an acknowledgement of the debt I felt I owed you and our child, even if I was too much of a coward to claim my place." Chloe's eyes welled up, not with anger, but with overwhelming sadness. "You hated me for leaving," she said, "but you were still taking care of us from the shadows." "I hated myself more," Alex admitted, crushing the paper in his hand. "It was the ultimate cowardice. I was so convinced you wanted my money that I gave it to you, hoping it would ease my guilt, all while destroying my chance to actually be a father. I kept it a secret because I knew if you ever found out, you'd see it for what it was: a poor substitute for a man who failed to show up." Chloe reached out and gently uncurled his hand, taking the crumpled paper. She looked at the figure, the money he had been too proud and too scared to claim as a contribution, yet too guilty to withhold. "You don't understand," Chloe said, her voice trembling. "I was terrified and alone. That money, that safety net you created, even though you were a coward for not telling me, it allowed me to start fresh. It allowed me to move to Beacon Hill, to find a stable job, to know that Lily would be safe. You didn't just reject us. You secretly ensured we had a foundation to survive." She looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "You were right. You were the coward. But even in your worst moment of fear, the good man you were always meant to be still took care of us." Alex embraced her tightly, a raw, deep-seated sob finally escaping him. The secret, the last piece of the wall between them, had finally crumbled. They had both carried profound guilt, he for leaving, she for taking the choice away. But in this final, painful confession, they found a deeper truth. Even in the act of separation, a flawed love had protected them. "I love you, Chloe," he whispered. "Thank you for being braver than I was." "Welcome home, Alex," she replied. "Completely home." The light from the window illuminated the dust motes dancing in the air, a final, quiet blessing on their long, hard-earned journey back to each other. The old wounds were not erased, but they were finally understood, allowing their story to close on a note of complete honesty and perfect reconciliation. The ultimate legacy of Alex Hayes was not his wealth, but the simple, unshakable joy of being present. He traded the highest title for the most meaningful one, Daddy. His story proves that true success is not about ambition without end, but finding the courage to stay and build the foundation you once abandoned. If this final moment of honesty and forgiveness resonated with you, share it with someone who is on their own path to redemption, and subscribe for more real-life dramas.